Hi everyone, welcome back to the Art of Business English, where we help people like you get the language skills you need for doing business in English. I've got episode 173 for you here today, people. And I must admit, it's been a busy start to the summer. Pretty crazy times here. So I hope you're all enjoying the start of your summer. It's July here and summer in the Northern Hemisphere. For the rest of you, I hope you're enjoying the beginning of the cold, dark winter. I'm sorry if that's the case. But here we are. Today I've got a really interesting episode for you, and I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about how to really understand your audience, especially in meetings, and why that is important. This lesson came up in the course I'm currently doing, which is the summer program of Confidence in Business Meetings. We're actually enjoying ourselves a lot. I hope that those who are on the course are getting lots of value from it. And the rest of you are going to learn something today that I shared in the session yesterday. So this is how to understand your audience for a meeting and why that is important. Okay, so I'm going to dive over now and check out, I've got a wonderful PowerPoint presentation to show you people. So let's dive in and take a look at this. Okay, so let's dive in and take a look at this. Basically, you've got several things to consider, but let me quickly start by explaining to you why understanding our audience is so important. This rule will serve you well for not only meetings, but any situations where you are communicating with people and you would like to get them to adopt something, an idea, or maybe become a client. So you're trying to influence them. And this is generally great when you are dealing with people who are the decision maker in an organization or a department or whatever. Okay, so we need to understand our audience, because if we don't, then we often are going to prepare the content of our meeting or our presentation really from a one-sided perspective, from our perspective. Okay, so that is going to mean that we really are not focused on what motivates our audience or what motivates the people in the meeting or what motivates the people who we're delivering the presentation to. And if people don't see what is in it for them, so if they don't see any value in it, then they are going to quickly switch off. So again, the last thing we want is people switching off, especially if we're giving them, a presentation or something important. Remember, if it's important to you, it may not be important to them. If they don't see the value in what it is that you're trying to present to them, then it's going to be very difficult for you to try and convince them to say yes. So let's look then at all the things that we should consider when trying to understand our audience, especially when we're trying to influence them in or as part of a decision-making process. So the first thing we need to look at is who is coming and what are their roles. So this is specifically based on a meeting, but understanding who will be attending the meeting or the presentation is super important. If it is a meeting, then what are their roles going to be? Obviously, this will depend on the type of meeting. If you're meeting external customers or potential customers, or you're meeting other people within your organization who you are trying to convince of something, or maybe you're meeting with the directors of departments, or even the boss of the company, or a company leader, and you're trying to influence them, then this is where this is really relevant, okay? So you need to ask yourself questions like, what do they know? So what are their views? So if you can really try and delve into what they already know. If you tell people things they already know, they're going to lose interest or get frustrated because they will feel that you are wasting their time. And if possible, try and obtain or understand what their expectations are of this meeting or of the situation. Understanding other people's expectations will help us understand their motivations. And if we understand what motivates them, then we can address our message, or we can align our message with those expectations. Try not to be one-sided. This is very difficult. Often we think about everything from our own perspective, and it's very difficult for us to put ourselves into the shoes of someone else. But if we can do that and understand them and their motivation, then we're going to be much more effective at communicating our idea and message, as well as much more effective at convincing them of adopting an idea. So again, what motivates them? Really important. Okay, maybe if they're the boss of the company, maybe they're motivated by productivity and less expenses. Okay, so understanding what motivates them will help you get what you want. Think through different scenarios. That's also point 5 here, is also really important. If we can really imagine how this meeting might go and what might be some of the pushbacks or the things that that they don't want to agree with, or maybe we can brainstorm or think about the different ways the meeting might go, then we can plan accordingly how we might respond or react to those different scenarios. And also, number 6, my goals versus their goals. Often we just go into a presentation or a meeting pushing our goals because it's what we want to get achieved or we want to get done. But that's not going to be very effective, especially if you're trying to convince someone whose goals or objectives or desires or motivations or expectations are not aligned with yours. So think about that. And this is really going to require some planning. So obviously, the more important the meeting, the more important the client or the potential client, or the more expensive a bad meeting could go. So the bigger the impact on the organization, the more planning is required. Okay. All right. Let's look at the next one here. We're going to look at this. So attendees, you should establish who is coming. To do that, if it's an external company, you can just call the company, ask who's coming. If it's an internal meeting, then you can check the attendee list and see who has confirmed. You can also find out what the role is in the company. So, if someone is the decision maker, try and establish that. If someone is a technical person, like an engineer or an IT technician, maybe when delivering technical information in the meeting, you would focus on them because you know that they will understand that information more than maybe other people. And then if you can influence them, then maybe later they will explain it to their team or their boss or their colleagues. And if they're convinced, then maybe they will convince their boss or their team members to adopt your idea. So it's really important understanding their role as well. And also, what's their role in the meeting? Are they going to be sitting there passively? Will they be providing information? Will they be the one that will decide on the issue or decide on the negotiation or whatever the topic of the meeting is? So understanding roles in the meeting is important. That way you can direct information and your key messages towards specific people and influence them individually and hopefully as a whole. And also, what are their expertise? Therefore, if you need to share technical information, you would focus on them. Or maybe if it's financial stuff, you would focus on someone who's got more financial expertise. So those types of things are really important. And you can also try and establish what are their expectations. Obviously, this can be quite easy if it's a negotiation. Maybe their expectation is good service at the best price. So, that's the thing, or ease of delivery. Trying to establish early on or even before the meeting what their expectations are as a good outcome for them will help you align your goals with their goals. And think of the factors that might influence them. What things could you do or say? How can you attach influence to your key message? Okay, so really important to think about these types of things before you plan a meeting or while you're planning your meeting. Okay, be open, have your goals clear, really important. You need to really have clear your goals so that you can get what you want done. If you're a bit evasive and not clear, you're going to confuse people and then maybe they might not trust you. Always be ready for surprises. Okay, so we can plan for those, even though you need to be ready in case something may come out of left field, meaning it may come as a complete surprise. But if we plan a little bit for maybe some unexpected scenarios, then we'll be a bit better ready or a bit more organized than if we don't expect anything at all. Be ready for counter arguments and ideas. Obviously, this is going to happen. Many things in life are a negotiation, even if it's not over money, it could be over many other things. So be ready for that. Maybe you think it's the most brilliant idea, the thing that you're trying to get adopted or convince people of, but maybe people don't think that, and be ready for that. You need to think about what their position is and their counter arguments and ideas so that you are ready to address them and have answers for them. Okay, prepare possible answers before the meeting. This is really important, especially if you're not a native English speaker, because this will help you better prepare and you'll feel much more confident and ready to answer people when they come back at you with something or a counter argument or some pushback on something. Okay, and understand your motivations and their motivations. If you obviously it's easy to understand what motivates you, but if you can understand their motivations, then you're much more likely to be able to align. And the more alignment you can get with your objectives and their objectives or motivations, the more likely you are to achieve a positive outcome and result. Not always easy, I admit, but if you can get alignment, then you're likely to close the deal or get buy-in or get that golden yes from the decision maker. All right, really important as well, when planning a meeting and understanding your audience, you need to brainstorm some scenarios. This will help you basically be ready for whatever may happen. So if they say this, then what? You can ask yourself that question. You can do that with your team. You can have a pre-meeting meeting, which sounds a lot, but a pre-meeting meeting is important if you're going into a really important negotiation. So if they say this, then what? What will we say? How might they react to this information? Think about that. Put those ideas out there and get your team to do it, because maybe from your perspective, you've only got one idea or one perspective. But if you have more people in your team that you can ask these questions to, they will give you different perspectives on possible reactions or things that people may say to you from the other team. Okay, so it's really important to think about that. What do we do if this happens? So be ready with some ideas about what will you do if these different scenarios happen. Okay, and that's really it. That's how we can plan and prepare for our audience. Okay, so if you want to understand your audience and be more influential within the organization, then you should follow those steps. Obviously, you're not going to do it for every single meeting, because maybe if you're just in a team meeting, then it's a weekly team meeting. You're not needing to influence people. But if you are trying to influence people or get them to adopt something or get a yes out of people, then it's good to think about those things. The better you understand your audience, the more likely you are to be able to align your key message with them and get a yes out of them. So I hope you like this lesson. I hope you found this information relevant and useful. But that is a quick lesson on how you can better understand your audience in order to better communicate with them and find some synergies and alignment with what it is that you would like to achieve and what it is that they are, what motivates them or what their expectations are. Okay, so that's it for me, people, for this week on the Art of Business English. We're coming up to the summer series, which I'll be releasing soon. But at the moment, we're in the summer program, which is going well. And I look forward to more sessions with my group of people next week. And for the rest of you, I hope you are having a good start to your summer. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week for another episode of the Art of Business English. As always, it's a pleasure. Take care. Bye for now.